Do you remember the days of walking into your local Video Easy, going for the new releases and finding out that pretty much 90% of them are already rented out? Kate Smell's Service presents Media in Demand, a podcast. I am your host, Ben Jones, and joining me is Ethan Urch.
Hello, thank you for having me back.
The man on the left.
Yes.
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 Yes. So today we're going to be talking about digital versus physical media and how the landscape has changed considering our connection with the internet, our ability to store things on something as small as your thumbnail. Now, for those that have watched any of our previous episodes, you'll know that usually we start off with what we go through during what we've been watching or consuming during the week. I'm going to do a little bit of a twist here on this one because of the specific topic.
Curveball.
We're going to talk about the digital and physical media marketplaces that we use to purchase that, so or consume that media. So, Ethan, if you want to let me know on like certain storefronts you use, like with gaming, music, books, movies, TV shows. Well, how do you consume your media most of the time?
As in what I do now these days?
Yeah, what do you do now these days?
Not what I used to, but today. Okay.
Yeah, well, what you do basically, if you were to go home right now to watch a movie, read a book, listen to music, what would you consume them on?
First of all, with the ease of technology, I don't have to go anywhere. Like leaving here the office, I can just go straight home, log in to Netflix, watch a movie there or a TV show. Or I could, if I wanted to play a computer game, I got some downloaded already on my computer through Steam. This isn't a plug for Steam. They aren't paying us. They don't pay anyone enough.
Trust us, if we were getting paid for this stuff, we wouldn't be doing this.
But yeah, no. So yeah, does that answer your question? Yeah,
that's pretty much what I'm looking for.
It's as simple as just going home. I have a Google account. I download movies through there because sometimes Netflix just doesn't have what you want.
Yeah.
You know, it's just as easy. I can just search the movie, click purchase or rent it, and then it's there.
So a lot of it with your movies, basically, you tend to use a lot of the streaming services, but if you can't access it on that, you try to look for some digital place rather than going to like a JB Hi-Fi or anything like that.
Yeah, because I haven't got my pension card yet, so I can't actually buy DVDs at a JB or a Sanity.
They won't. They just physically don't let you.
You can't physically walk through the door. Like that's a part of the issue. It's you just
have to have a crooked back in order to enter.
Yeah, a crooked
must
back.
Be lower than this high.
You have to have like at least 76% grey hairs.
You gotta have like it's like your face has to be 80% wrinkles.
If your teeth aren't 80% dentures,
that's pretty much it.
Yeah,
sucks to be anyone who's rich who can easily afford to have everything fixed up.
I was going to say Richard Gere could have gone in back in the 90s. Well, he was pretty great.
Yeah, in the 90s, but now.
Oh, he definitely can go in. Like there's no issues there.
Yeah, right now he can. He's aged gracefully. But anyway, so
you? What about you? What do you do these days?
Well, I was going to keep on.
Talking about me, harassing me.
It's just for a couple of minutes, don't you worry.
I'm getting attention.
So basically, yeah, your video games. You're mainly a PC gamer as well. So you use Steam as your biggest storefront,
or Origin, but
yeah.
Origin's mainly for the ones that you can't get.
A lot of like EA based games as well.
Like The Sims and Battlefield. I play through Origin,
and you use Spotify as well for your music and stuff.
Oh
like
hell
that
yeah, music's like that. Don't have to get CDs anymore.
When's the last time you bought like a physical book?
Actually, that's a different thing. I do buy books. Yeah.
Okay, so you buy physical books.
It's probably been a year since I bought a physical book. I just like the feel of it.
Yep.
There's a difference to it. But something I've slowly been getting into or trying to lately with The Hobbit is like audiobooks. But like I find myself not paying enough attention. But then I find myself paying not enough attention when I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm just like, anyway. But yeah,
I think with
books are still something because of the feel of it.
with book reading, it does take a little bit of your imagination, and
Mm-hmm.
and it can still happen in your mind. I know sometimes I've flowed through books and I've thought like I don't even remember what goes on, and I read back the passage and I'm remembering the words as
Yeah.
I'm going along, and I'm like, oh, I did take
But
it.
like you remember what your brain like did, like the imagination that you like, the way your imagination worked to build that as you were reading it, and then you go and you forget it, and then you go back and read it, and it's all just flows back into your head.
Yeah, sort of like a
basically
combination
memory
of that
of your
plus the words itself in your mind just clicks back
Yeah,
into
man.
that role. Like, oh, we've already done this. Can we fast forward back to the
yeah
to the bit? Yeah,
And I think that's how some weird psycho crazy people that I know, Geordie, she doesn't use bookmarks.
she just remembers.
She just doesn't
where-
use bookmarks. She'll either remember what page she was at, or like she might, I don't know. It's weird.
That's pretty clever.
yeah. It's gonna be fucked when she gets dementia. Sorry for swearing.
F word number one.
She's gonna should start having a counter. But yeah.
So I'm pretty much similar to you in the way of movies. I've got a Netflix account. I try to watch all my TV shows and movies on that. If I can't find it on that, which rarely I can't really, I did have a Stan account at one point, but I was never using it.
I took over.
Yeah, you took over this. Are you still paying for that Stan account, by the way?
I think accidentally, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, awesome. I did have Foxtel Now at one point because of Game of Thrones, which I'll have to redo that subscription as well when Game of Thrones hits. I generally go to an EB Games more often than a digital store place, although I'm trying to buy more off like PlayStation Network or Steam, just because I find that the money will go to the developer and will encourage them more to like it. There's no. Well, let's put it this way: like when you buy a physical copy, right, and you can go to an EB Games, GameStop if you're over in the US, and trade that game in, right? Someone else can pick that up pre-owned, and yes, it's cheaper, but the developer doesn't get any of that money.
Yes.
So
If it's a pre-owned thing, yeah.
exactly.
But then when it comes to like an outdated game, it's still on the marketplace for like months or years to come.
Yeah.
Like you can still buy games from like 2011, I'm sure, maybe. I'm probably over exaggerating. But yeah, you can still buy older games and the money, as you said, still goes to them.
Yeah.
I'm sure, hope.
Or even if you're buying it on like a digital storefront, it will go to the developer.
Okay, that's good then, yeah.
I don't know when it comes to a developer that's been defunct or anything like that.
Yeah,
A
true.
developer that's no longer up and running or anything.
Mm-hmm.
I suppose it would go to the rights holder,
Yeah, true.
most likely. I generally use that. I use Origin as well. I find EA actually has quite a clean storefront and all that sort of stuff.
When it's not bugging, yeah.
Yeah, when it's not buggy. I played Anthem on the weekend, and that was interesting.
Yeah, I heard you got a bit angry about it.
I got a little bit frustrated. It's not the most fluid of games.
No.
With keyboard and mouse, at least. I feel like if I played it on the PlayStation, I might have liked it a bit more.
Okay.
Just the flying controls are not good for keyboard and mouse. So.
Is it probably off topic? Is it a third-person game?
It's a third-person shooter.
Yeah, I always find with me like third-person games are sometimes easier on a console at times.
I find that, like, if this makes sense, horizontal third-person shooters.
Yeah.
So, like, Battlefront 2, you can go onto a third-person view.
Mm-hmm.
You're Uncharted or anything like that because you're not moving, like, in a circle or, like, up-down. You're just moving left to right and forward-back.
Yeah. So
I find that a lot easier. But yeah, when it comes to those flight controls, it's just a little bit difficult.
Okay.
But yeah, basically Anthem is just like a combination of, I'd say like a Destiny and Mass Effect.
Okay.
So
Apparently it didn't do too well.
well, the demo's it's got a bit of issues. It's got a bit of bugs.
That's why it's a demo.
It's not well. That's the thing about it is that
Hopefully.
It's still got a bit to go, and it's not fully released yet. They've still got a couple of patches that they have yet to go, but hopefully they fix that up before they fully release it, or else it's not going to be very good for them. Because Mass Effect Andromeda before that came out with heavy backlash due to the facial animations and the boring plot.
Yeah.
So they kind of need a win with this one.
It's funny because it was very anticipated and then it just flopped.
Exactly.
Just
Exactly. Now, when it comes to books, I generally have a lot of physical books. I don't, but what I generally read is digital comics, which is probably not good
No, I read comics
because
like that.
it would none of your mum and pop shops, you don't really go to them all that much with a comic or
Yeah.
anything. Yeah, you go into a digital storefront. It is going direct to the publisher at least. So I've got DC and Marvel on my phone.
Yeah.
But to be completely honest, the last comic before the Green Lantern one that I bought nearly a year ago was about 3 or 4 years ago. So,
Yeah.
when it comes to movies as well, I try to, if there's a series that I really like the Avengers movies, I find that I try to buy the Blu-ray sets as the phases come out. I've got I buy basically sets that I'm a big fan of.
Yeah.
Back to the Future trilogy I have on Blu-ray. Lord of the Rings, the extended cut. Avengers Phase 1 and 2.
On
the
the
Dark Knight
Lord of the
trilogy.
Rings thing, extended cut's the only way to go.
Extended cut is the only way to go,
Yeah.
especially with the original trilogy. With The Hobbit, it's excusable because it's boring as hell.
Ugh.
But yeah,
That's an
basically
exception to
the
my
way.
rule. No movie should ever have to have an extended cut or a director's cut or anything like that. No movie should have to have that, except Lord of the Rings, because of the amount of time and effort and production that went into that. But anyway, moving on.
Yeah, so there's only a couple of special ones that I buy with the movies, but when it comes to other stuff, I tend to just buy it digitally on the PlayStation Store. I've got a couple of movies on there, or I rent it. Like the PlayStation Store has a rent function.
Yeah.
You pay like $4, $2, and you can rent it for like 30 days. Once you've watched it, you've got 24 hours to watch it again.
Yeah, true.
So it's all just pretty convenient and stuff. And it doesn't make you wonder why Blockbuster or Video Easy went out of business, because of the model that it is, that it's focused on convenience for the customer. You know what I mean? And this topic is hot off the heels of a news article this past week where GameStop, the US company, we know them as EB Games over here, took themselves off the market for being purchased. They've been up for sale for quite a bit of time because they're basically losing money in the physical copies sort of area. The whole digital marketplace is people have been going over to digital media for quite some time. It's been a bit of a drizzle, but it's basically
it's really catching up now.
At the moment, it's split 50-50.
Yeah.
And not only that, GameStop also has to compete with Amazon and eBay and all those other digital suppliers, internet postal suppliers.
Yeah.
And it's just a bit of a niche thing. It's basically like a place where most people just go to pick up merchandise for a game.
Yeah,
and
because that's what like here in Australia, there's a lot of Zing stores being attached to EB Games, and Zing is basically just like the merch place to be, like where you buy your merch.
It's just a whole bunch of geek merch.
Yeah, especially in Australia. I don't know about anywhere else in the world, but
and so it just makes me wonder, like, where's GameStop going to go from this? If I was in charge of GameStop, I would try to go for some sort of digital marketplace in the way of Steam or Origin or something like that, where it's like a little application that you could open on your desktop. And I know you'd be joining the rest of the crowd and you'd be competing with that crowd, but they're still competing with them regardless of whether they do physical or digital. And on that front as well, because a lot of people do love buying physical over digital because they get a case. You could still buy off that and then, spend that little bit more to get just that box art or something on your shelf. And, with the way that also digital refunding is working, there's no real excuse that, one is better than the other. Like Steam has got a whole bunch of applications and extra features on that in some cases makes it better.
Yeah,
than
like
going
the Steam,
to a GameStop or EB Games.
The Steam Workshop itself is just really well done. Like, there's still improvements that could be made. There always is with anything, but like you've got the ease of access for the modding community. You know, like you can just go to the Steam workshop, get little add-ons for your game, and like you can't do that with when you go to an actual physical store and buy your copy. And then also with that, it's like because I did the dumb thing and I bought GTA 5 in a physical copy, and then because that's not through the Steam, I have to get my mods for that game through another supplier off the internet. You know, it's not as easy as going through Steam Workshop and just clicking on it, automatically installs it to your game. That's part of the issue with buying a physical copy.
Yeah, and Steam does have a lot of that ease of use as well. Like when I've just picked up Undertale on the Switch, and I'm playing through that, and I found my controller. I had to use the thumbstick, and I was a bit annoyed with that. I wanted to use the D-pad, and if I went into controller layouts, there's already people from the community who've set up controller layouts for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, or Nintendo Switch controllers, and they're all supported by Steam. You just have to connect it to your computer, it registers it, and then you pick the layout you want, automatically attaches it to the controller, play the game, boom, you're done.
It's a beauty of PC.
Exactly. And a lot of consoles have started to catch up to that. They're not quite there, but the ease of use, I feel like, is much more prevalent with a console. However, with the likes of Steam implementing these features, there's going to get to a point where it's not necessarily like I pick Xbox because of this, or I pick PlayStation because this is easier. It's going to be I picked PlayStation because I was with PlayStation before, or I picked PC because I've got all my games through Steam.
Which is probably something they should be focusing on is maintaining the players they've already got. You know what I mean? Like, rather than having to try and compete and find new people to bring in and appeal to them, just focus on the ones you've got and improve that. And then what's your strengths? Focus on that. What's your weaknesses? Eradicate that. You know, like, I don't know. Yeah, you know what I'm getting at.
Well, even on that is like we're still getting a separation where it's like a PlayStation is known for its exclusives. They're if you want to play The Last of Us, Spider-Man PS4,
Tomb Raider.
God of War.
Oh no, that's not what.
Tomb Raider's not exclusive.
Well, wasn't it? It was for a bit, wasn't it?
On Xbox.
Ah, never mind. But yeah.
Yes. If you want to play the likes of those games, Horizon Zero Dawn, God of War, all of those, you have to play them on PlayStation. They're not accessible any other way.
And that's the same thing with Nintendo.
Nintendo's a completely different kettle of fish. But Xbox has been going a different route where their games are accessible on both the Xbox and a PC.
Yeah.
With I think it's called the Windows Store or something like that. I'm not too sure. I don't play Xbox.
Because there is some games that you can buy on the Xbox. No, through your Windows, and then it'll play on your Xbox as well.
Exactly. Yeah. And they've also got the Game Pass, which that includes some of the games that are on the Microsoft Store on your PC. So you can purchase it for your Xbox, and then you've got a laptop, and you've got games on there already.
Okay.
And so
because I was thinking about utilizing that when Forza Motorsport came out. I was going to try and jump on that and play it on PC like that way.
Yeah, well, you've got plenty of Xbox has its exclusives like Sea of Thieves, Forza, Halo, but it generally looks like from my point of view as a consumer, it looks like Xbox is going more with the convenience and ease of consumption. So in the way of
the way Steam sort of does it.
Kind of. It's more of an accessibility. Like you've got your Xbox, which you can play your Xbox games on, and some games will only be console exclusives. You won't be able to get them on PC, but any first party games are going to be accessible on the PC, and that's what kind of separates that from your likes of PlayStation, where PlayStation, the closest they've got to that is remote play, which you can do on a PC,
which isn't the best looking thing.
If it's set up with a great internet connection, it's actually pretty indistinguishable.
Yeah.
But if the internet connection is a little bit faulty, it can look a little bit dud, which is where that does falter, and we get into the future of gaming, which is where I see it coming from, is streaming gameplay.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. The way that the internet connection is building up, we're getting close to 5G now.
Yeah.
Games are starting to become. Red Dead Redemption itself is a 120 gigabyte download.
Yeah.
Install on your game. Imagine just buying a piece of hardware for $99, setting it up on your TV set box, and playing Red Dead on that. And you have a controller in your hand and everything's streamed through the internet. That is where I personally think the future of gaming will end up. Yeah. And even now you can see that as the future of where we watch movies and stuff like that.
Where everything just sort of sits in a cloud, you access it.
Pretty much.
Brings down a proxy copy version and you just...
Pretty much.
Yeah.
And the best way that we can see this as evident, or at least see this as the way that's going to go, is if we look back and look at the pioneer of a lot of our data holding, and that is the music industry. Now, if we go back, music went from obviously vinyls to CDs, or vinyls to tapes, tapes to CDs, and then from CDs you could buy them and put them on your iTunes store. And that was the moment where people realized that, digital is much better than having a physical copy, because you can copy 200. This is going back to when you had an iPod that had 16 gigabytes.
I remember 8.
8 gigabytes.
And then the little shuffles, 2 gigs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, you can stick like 200 songs on the one device. It was like having like 10 cassette tapes in the one device. And then going from there, you had the iTunes store. You could buy the songs digitally and have them, and you would own them as the digital copy and stuff like that. And then Spotify came in one step further, and now we just stream the music.
Yeah.
And you have a huge library. You don't even have to have Spotify Premium. You can have Spotify free. You gotta have ads for it.
Those really aggressive ads that just...
Yeah, like if you're playing a slow song and you turn the volume up just a little bit and the ad comes on, and it's just like, enjoy Spotify Premium now for $2.95.
No, and then I remember, like, off topic, but Gus Johnson did a skit, and it was just like, all right, are we ready to, like, he's in his kitchen, he's like, are we ready to record our Spotify ad? Yeah, we are. Turns a blender on, gets an air horn. Whoa, get it now, buy it now. Like, yeah, they're very aggressive and loud. Off topic. Thanks for listening.
And so, just looking at that projection of the way that the music industry has gone and the way that we've seen the TV and movie industries follow, games tend to be one that trails behind. Not because it's unpopular or anything.
It's just the way it's developed, those games.
It's because of the money that's poured into that. The music industry has a huge amount of money that's get poured into that. And then you've got the movie industry, like Aquaman made $1 billion, Avengers Infinity War made $2 billion. Same with Black Panther. And, when you're talking movies in the billions, that's a crap ton of money.
Yeah.
And so in the games industry, you've got games that reach up to like the $100-200 million mark. You get your Call of Duties, which earn, close to that billion as well, and Grand Theft Auto 5. So the gaming industry is not far behind. It might be third in the race,
and like
but it's slowly catching up.
Part of that issue is because the way the games are played. Like a movie, it's a file, you watch it. Music, it's a file, you play it. The game is something that has to be constantly reloaded, like frame per frame. As you move through the world, and then
and even then, like if you look at something that's more arcadey, like Pac-Man or something like that. You've got that replayability, but at the same time, it's like it's not something that you would sit down and watch for like 2 hours or something, or it's not something that you'd have an entire season for. It's not something that you'd have like as an album or something. It's like a small level that you just quickly play with. So going from something as small as Pac-Man and then even to something as large as like Grand Theft Autos and stuff like that, it's a little bit hard to quantifiably put games under a single banner sometimes, because there is such a broad variety of
game
games,
types.
that you can't really say that like, oh, all games will go like that. You could on my phone, I've got the old school Sonic, right? But back when Sonic first came out on Sega, you couldn't even imagine it being on something as portable as this.
Yeah, but that's just the beauty of technology.
Exactly.
Like with our phones, this is something from like 5 years ago. But on our phones, we had more than enough technology than they did when they sent a man to the moon. You know what I mean? Just in our phone.
Yeah.
And what do? We use it for portability of porn.
Yeah, we use it to watch porn or cat videos.
Yeah.
But that's why I feel like that going that way is the way that that gaming is going to follow that form of media, and especially with avenues like Twitch here, where we've got this type of connection that we've never really experienced before, and that is being able to watch people basically do their own TV shows.
Yeah.
Like, could you imagine telling that to someone in 1950s of being like, oh, that TV show you're watching, by the way, there's going to be people in the future who can just do that in their office or do that in their living room.
And that's what we're doing.
And they'll be like, what?
Yeah.
And I tell you what, it's really amazing how us here on at Media and Demand are allowed to do this on the Scramble Pixels network. Because
that's a transition.
You know what? Scramble Pixel, the Scramble Pixels network is a really great network, Scramble Pixels is a podcast production house that supplies the equipment, space, and technical know-how that goes into producing your own podcast. Scramble Pixels are on the hunt for Brisbane people that want the quick and easy way to get their podcast off the ground and into the airwaves. If you tuned in it was about, an hour and a half ago? They just finished up, what was the name of it?
The Hidden Language of Cosplay.
Hidden Language of Cosplay by Bree Perryman. And from what I heard, it was a banger of a podcast.
Yeah. Everyone enjoyed it.
Exactly. Scramble Pixels offers affordable production packages, a Twitch network with a shared live audience. Sure, you could produce your own show, but at the cost of time. Time that could be spent fine-tuning your podcast's character. You can't deliver a relatable character to your audience if you're checking cameras and audio levels. I spend a lot of time on my notes here, basically, and I give you a look behind the curtain. Ethan here is the one who helps produce, sets up the cameras, and does all the audio levels. And that allows me to focus more on what we're going to talk about in the podcast rather than having to worry about whether my microphone's okay, because Ethan's already got that set up. Scramble Pixels already records, edits, and has the Scramble Pixels network streaming weekly podcasts to an audience that is thirsty for more. If you're after a service that takes the hassle out of the boring technical side of podcast production, then Scramble Pixels is for you. For any information, just go to scramblepixels.com/join the network and get your podcast in people's ears. Once again, that's scramblepixels.com/join the network.
Oh. Beautiful ad read. Loved it.
So we've talked a lot about how, digital media is easy to access. It's really quick and responsive. I've got my iPhone here. I can go onto Netflix. I can go onto any store that's on an app there, upload it. I can check out a video. YouTube is there as well. There's so many streaming stuff on there. There's a couple of other things about it as well, is that it's also environmentally friendly. People don't think about this, but like your physical media, you've got something physical, right?
Yeah.
What if that gets trashed?
Yeah, there is acres of landfill in like third world countries.
Exactly.
Of just old technology that the first world just doesn't want anymore, and it just gets sent off like DVDs, like cases, computers,
the DVD players themselves.
Yeah.
And, all of it has to go somewhere, you know what I mean? And sure, we can use it to recycle or make other products, but with something that's so...
finally built.
Well, I was going to say, like, not so technologically advanced.
Oh, yeah.
There's not much that you can kind of scrap from it to make into better.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure there are techniques that they can use, but... you're not going to exactly take a DVD reader out because majority of stuff has Blu-rays in it now.
Yep.
Xbox 360, its only downside was that it was a HDD reader instead of a Blu-ray reader. whereas PS3 was a Blu-ray reader.
Yeah.
And so Xbox One, when that came out, immediately changed that to a Blu-ray player
Yeah.
because that was the way that media was going.
In 360's defense, it was in the time where we had this big war. Young viewers probably won't know, but it was the big debate between high definition DVDs or
High
Blu-ray.
definition. I can't remember what the DD meant, but it was definitely high something.
Yeah.
And then Blu-ray discs.
And Blu-ray won.
Hey, look,
That's
I don't think
that's
Xbox
Sony for you.
360 needs that much defense, considering PS3 was nearly a flop out of the gate.
Yeah.
People were told you'll spend $600 on this because you will, and they were like, no, we'll just buy an Xbox 360, and they felt that pinch.
Yeah.
It took them years to recover
And bring the price down on PlayStation 3. Yeah.
Exactly. And it also potentially is more cost effective to make digital media over physical.
Yeah.
Now, the breakdown of I remember watching something on it, but the breakdown of making a PS4 game, right? You have like, I'm probably going to get these numbers wrong, but it was about $5 for the disc.
Mm-hmm.
$10 goes to Sony for the copyright of using their machine.
Mm-hmm.
And then was it like another sliver to the production house, about $10 to the production house to actually put the game on the disc.
Mm-hmm.
And then tax.
Yeah.
And so the rest of that, which is about 60 to 50%, were left to the programmers of the game,
Yeah.
the makers of the game.
Yeah.
With digital media, you can minus out the cost of having to not only
Manufacture
not only the producer who puts the game on the disc, but also the disc itself. You don't have to worry about either of those with digital media. You just go straight to Sony and say, this is my game. I would like to sell it at this price.
Mm-hmm.
And they will say, okay, this is how much our copyright will cost for you to pop it on our system. Boom, done.
Cutting so many costs.
Exactly.
Environmentally friendly.
So why haven't games dropped down in price, in at least on the digital side of it?
And that is an argument.
The reason why is because over in the US, you would call it Walmart or anything like that. Over here, we have Kmart, Target. Those places will not sell the discs if it's cheaper on the PlayStation Network or on the Xbox Store.
Really?
Yep. It's all a big whole like money ploy, basically.
So that's why digital copies are more?
That's why digital copies are the exact same price.
Okay.
You can have your sales, which the PSN does, but it cannot stay at that price.
That's an annoying thing.
If it gets dropped, the physical media has to be dropped.
Because for a
as
bit
well.
there, I thought it was just the price has sort of stayed roughly the same in relation to inflation and as well as more production time going into games. Like the higher quality of games have been pumping out. I thought that was why.
A little
I didn't
bit.
know about that.
It is a little bit of that, but also like if the one key thing that you can actually notice is that if ever we go to a EB Games, GameStop for any US viewers, PC games cost less.
Yeah.
They always cost $10 less. And the reason why is because you can't trade that back in.
No.
And when you pop it on your computer, it's a digital thing.
Yeah.
Some games you have to have the disc in the disk drive, but majority of games nowadays, they're just installation discs.
Yeah.
In case your internet's not up to snuff.
No, that's all they do. It's just all it does is it has the URL on that disk, goes to the website, and then downloads the game.
The game, yep.
Don't ever buy physical copy for PC. Like that's
You don't need to.
Yeah.
Unless you want something on your shelf, which is understandable, but yeah, you don't need to.
no.
And so that's where it's gonna come to a point eventually where a digital marketplace will have to work out whether it will have to be on its own or not, you know?
Yeah.
Sony were almost ahead of the curve at one point with the PSP Go that had no way of putting games on it other than the PlayStation Store.
What was that PSP Go?
PSP Go was a little PSP that you could slide up. The top screen would slide up and you basically had your controls on it. I had one of those.
That's pretty cool.
And I would buy my games digitally.
Yeah.
I loved it. I regret trading that in.
Yeah.
I wish I still had it because it was one of the coolest things I ever had. It was one of the coolest designs. It was you couldn't have any of the UMDs that PSPs used. You couldn't use them, but you didn't really care too much.
Yeah.
You know, granted, you did have to use proprietary Sony memory cards, which is crap. It's Sony being money grubby. It's PS3 Sony, so
They were
not
in
PS4 Sony.
They were in a weird time.
Yeah, they were at a weird time.
But mind you, I'll cut them some slack. Their online world was free.
At the time that
I enjoyed because I remember playing Last of Us online for free. It was,
but at the same time now it's like you've got to pay for quality. So, and that's all well and true, right? For digital sides, but there are a couple of downsides to which physical media kind of alleviates that. One note is that digital licenses can expire.
Yeah.
Any day now, Sony can say, "Oh, PlayStation Store is shutting down this day." Any game that you've purchased and haven't downloaded, you'll never be able to access again.
Yeah.
And that'll be your money that is wasted on a piece of digital content that you can no longer access.
That is the apocalypse risk I'm willing to take, where I won't have any.
It's a big risk. And, it's something that you've always got to weigh up in that sort of way is, do you really own that game? Or are you just paying for the right to play that game?
Yeah.
Now, the way that I play games, I kind of try to, at least at this point in time, I try to finish them and then just move on to another one.
Mm-hmm.
If I come back to a game, I'll come back to a game. But if I've had my time with it and I've moved on, I've moved on. If I have to restart a save when I come back to it, I'm kind of okay with it.
I've just got like really bad relationship jokes coming into my head of just like, well, I'm done with you, girl. Move along. Next, like womanizer, but you're a gamanizer.
Gamanizer.
A gamanizer.
Are you trying to equate women to gaming?
That's what you're doing.
You are doing that.
Yeah, I know, it's funny. But anyway.
Now, along with those digital licenses could also be included the rights to stream. Now saying like, one store gets taken down, let's say Steam, right? Now, what's to stop someone who's streaming on Twitch a game that was on Steam that no longer is or anything like that? There's like, you got to look at like the legal rights basically of like, if that game is no longer accessible, is that game allowed to be streamed?
Yeah.
Or is it free reigns after that? Is there no police or will there be just complete authoritarian? This game is gone. That's nothing. You know what I mean? It almost becomes sort of lawless in a way, Which
is what I'm trying to do with it. I got a copy of the movies from Lionsgate, I think. Lionsgate, that game developer. Never mind. Lionshead or something.
Game developer?
Yeah, game developer, Lionshead. They did Fable as well.
Oh, right.
But
yeah.
like the movies is like a Sims, but for making movies. And I've got a copy of that, a physical copy. And then like trying to get that redeemed. Like I'm still looking into it, but trying to go to the website to go, oh, my code needs to be reset to install it. The website's not up anymore because it's such an old game. So it's, yeah. Which can be a drawback for having a physical copy.
Which a lot of digital store places have been bringing this up. Xbox has backwards compatibility. PlayStation has PlayStation Now. Not accessible in Australia, but it's accessible in the US.
What's Now do? Oh,
PlayStation
you were about to say
Now,
it, I cut you off.
PlayStation Now, basically, you can play like PS3 or whatever PS2 games, backwards games on that. And it's basically, it was initially the first streaming game service that was there. They've only just recently added downloading the games. And so you do have these avenues of playing those older games. But sometimes it's still not like how it used to be.
Yeah.
Or at least in the way of like, one example, going back to PSP, I had Need for Speed Underground Rivals, which was the PSP version when Need for Speed Underground and Underground 2 came out. And I loved that game when I was playing it. I traded my PSP Go in, and eventually I ended up getting a PlayStation Vita, which you could get PSP games on. And so fortunately I had quite a few PSP games, so I was trying to download them, and then I couldn't download Need for Speed Underground Rivals because the license had expired. and was no longer accessible.
God damn.
Exactly. So that's where not only that kind of license as well as also music licenses.
Yeah, because that's the thing. They're constantly, especially with GTA 5, when like a song runs out, the license runs out, they have to update the game and put new songs in. And that's why nostalgia reasons, like with me and Morgan, we'd sit down and play GTA 5 a lot back when it first came out. And now we were playing it the other week and it's just different. Like there's different songs and we're like, this isn't,
I don't mind it when they refresh the songs because it makes it feel like a living world.
Yeah, it feels more modern.
But when you get to something like Crazy Taxi or Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, they have those licensed games on disc. If you find the disc, brilliant, you can get the original game. But Crazy Taxi, you can download digitally now, does not have the original music because the licenses ran out.
Because with that though, what's the workaround? How do these older games that you can re-download fix that? They just have certain songs, or how are they?
They change the songs.
Yeah, so they just sign up for new licenses.
So, or maybe not even new licenses. It could be like a license of like maybe music that they own or something like that.
Yeah.
I think with Crazy Taxi, they actually just created music in-house and put that in.
Because I was going to say, you could just replace all the music with royalty-free orchestra music, like back in the day, opera.
Yeah.
Bit of Beethoven, just nothing but that. Like,
hey, I would play Crazy Taxi with Beethoven.
Yeah.
Nos dos
But with like Tony Hawk Pro Skater just doing flips, listening to opera and some Bach.
Or Crazy Taxi going over the hill, like riding the customer over. Like, that would be legendary.
Yeah. Different twist on the game.
Exactly, you know. Also, when it comes to physical media, there's no internet requirements. PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2, you can play the games when they came out. Nintendo had the stamp of Nintendo quality, which meant it had been triple checked. There was no software updates needed. And they had that all the way up to Nintendo Wii, where you didn't need to update the software because there was no bugs in it. They've had a few games, obviously. Like I think Metroid Prime on 3DS, I think it was, had a glitch where if you went into a certain room at a particular time, you did this particular actions and it left you in this room. There were no way you could get out. You had to send your SD card into Nintendo, and they would physically load a save on your SD card to plug back in, and it would give you the means of getting out of that room.
That's scary. Being trapped for eternity.
Exactly.
Imagine all the players that didn't send it back. Those poor little characters
they just
stuck
restarted their save.
Yeah.
Poor things. But that's the thing is like that's a worst case scenario. You know, if we're looking at something else of like, I've got a PlayStation 2 at home and I've got the disc Need for Speed. I also have Need for Speed Most Wanted on PS3. Not the PS3 version. It's the PS2 bought on the PS3 store. I can't access it through PS4. It like only works on PS3. Right. But I always wanted to get it physical just to be a bit more secure because like with the PS3, it's you're relying on the license to hold up. You know, you're relying on the hardware of a PS3 to hold up, which, I mean, I'm a PlayStation fan, so I'm allowed to say this, but PS3 was not that reliable. Whereas PS2 is one of the best damn consoles that ever came out.
Yeah.
I have the most fondest memories of PlayStation 2.
You could trash the shit out of that thing. You run it for hours.
Oh, you could. I left mine running for hours for sure.
Yeah.
I was telling you about it last time about Gran Turismo 4.
Yeah.
I did a 24-hour race and I left it running overnight on pause because I didn't want to stop racing.
Yeah.
And there was no way I could back out of it or anything, so I
just leave it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And like, but another way to criticize PlayStation 3, I remember when Shadow of Mordor.
We're going on water again.
Shadow of Mordor come out, and that run terribly. I nearly swore there, atrociously on PlayStation 3. That's what made me trade my PlayStation 3 in to get a PlayStation 4.
And it was programmed for PS4. Because I remember when you told me the first time you played it, it was terrible. I'm like, well, the first time I played it, I loved it.
Yeah.
And it was because I was playing it on PS4, the more superior console that it was built for.
Yeah.
And so when you get something along those like hardware requirements, like I suppose upgrading and with the physical media, you also get less compression.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. For anyone who doesn't know about this, if you do buy digital media, they tend to compress it so it's a lot faster to download. That's how you get quite fast download speeds. Unfortunately, that can affect the quality of it. If you're using a disc, everything gets put onto that disc because they have so much room on those Blu-rays. Mm-hmm. They still can't fit the entire extended cut of any of the Lord of the Rings films on one disc.
Yep.
But they're at least able to still do the half.
I love being told to switch disc. It's cute.
Which I don't actually mind. When it comes to something like that, it reminds me of the DVDs themselves.
Yeah.
And when
or even VHS. Do you remember doing that with VHS?
I never had two-parters.
Being asked to change video, that was epic.
I never had two-parter VHSs, but I could imagine it's...
Make sure you rewind the whole tape. Yes, Mum, put the first one back in.
Yeah.
Then you can swap it. Yeah.
But yeah, having that physical media allows for better file allocation and better quality of the media that you've got, especially when it comes to movies.
Yeah.
And there's also, along with the no need for internet when it comes to physical copies, is DRM. Now, with a physical copy, obviously, like there's certain protections on them, so you can't burn the disc on or anything. But when it comes to like a digital copy, maybe it's a little bit difficult to kind of stop that from being copied.
Yeah.
And so you've got basically your DRM anti-piracy software. Steam tends to use a lot of that on their games, basically.
Yeah, you can't copy things over. Because I remember I had a copy of, I still have it, Age of Empires 3 and all the expansion packs on disc. But I've rebought it on the Steam workshop.
Yeah. So
because of ease of use. But I could copy these discs onto like hard drive or USB. And then I remember girlfriend at the time, her brothers, I convinced them to play Age of Empires 3 with me, and we copied Age of Empires 3 on the USB, plugged in their computer, just play offline or whatever. Well, then it didn't really matter because it's an older game. And you just have to copy the contents of disc 1 onto the USB and then open it up from there, and you can play the whole game. And all three of us were playing the one copy of the game.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
and also being able to play a multiplayer game.
And so
just between us, sorry. But yeah.
And so that's the benefit when it comes to anti-piracy with digital media, is that you get that. Unfortunately,
to stop people like me.
Unfortunately, however, sometimes that software can get in the way of playing the game. When Steam came out, when Steam got what's it called, Sonic Mania. I remember this one in particular because I remember getting it on PlayStation and I remember reading all the news about it because I love that game. Its DRM made it have to be online all the time. It's an offline game. It's a single player game.
Yeah.
I think there's maybe leaderboards, but that's about it. Now, you can't play that game without an internet connection. I think eventually they patched it.
That's so unnecessary. Like some games, forcing you to stay online.
But that's the thing is like when it comes to it, like when it comes to piracy, is like people don't want to like lose out on that money, and people have come up with really clever like anti-piracy techniques. Basically, Mirror's Edge has this really unique thing where because it's a parkour game, you need speed, right? But at the portions where you're supposed to do jumping, which you'll see indicated in red, as you try to run towards it, it just slows right down.
Oh.
And so that's the anti-piracy technique. And you can only fix that by having the proper version of the game.
Huh. Clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's probably someone who's going to watch it and be like, well, no, there's a piece of code you can actually copy and that's
probably.
But but yeah, so that's what a lot of marketplaces like that are heading towards, at least for video games. Now, when it comes to movies, it's actually, they've found that people prefer convenience over price.
Yeah.
Granted, if something is like super convenient, but it costs $10,000, they're not exactly going to go with that.
Yeah.
But if, say, for example,
Depends how convenient it is, though. Like that's the thing.
is it going to wipe my ass every day?
That's why I want to buy a bidet. Anyway, moving on.
It's a convenience thing.
Yeah.
But that's why people will constantly get a Netflix account, is because it's just as simple as, I don't have to think about the money. It comes out once a month. I just watch whatever I want to watch at night, and I just go with that.
It's done.
Exactly. Now, it might be cheaper if you're not watching like all of the library or anything. You're only watching select few. It might be cheaper to go out and get those things. But how long is it going to take you to get each and every one of those physical medias that you want to watch that are on Netflix right there?
But then there's those extra hidden costs that some people don't even bother thinking about, which is the petrol. You know, like the wear on your car. That's probably a bit of a finicky one.
Or even if they...
Your physical time.
Yeah, your physical time. Or even if you look at like going onto eBay or anything, shipping costs.
Yeah.
You know? Or if you go to like a Kmart or something, you buy it there for like $10, but it turns out at Target it's $5.
Yeah.
You know, not getting it at the cheaper price, basically. And so if you've got something like your Netflix and Stan and that sort of digital front of where it's there, you just have to purchase it. And especially with Netflix, it just streams straight away. With PlayStation or Xbox, you can download just a first portion of it, get playing while it downloads the rest in the background.
Yeah.
So while you're playing, you're waiting for the entire thing to keep going.
Because I'm like, what part of the game are they... playing the game while it downloads is crazy for me.
It's actually funny. I was watching the Funhouse play Kingdom Hearts 3, and they got to a bit where the game hadn't fully downloaded yet.
Oh,
so they're trying to walk to this bit, and it's just like, please wait for the download to finish. Please wait for the download to finish. Please wait for the download to finish. And so that, I suppose, is another thing with digital, is that you do get that convenience of easily accessibility. But is it really that easy if you have to wait for the download? You know, if you've got that physical copy, you can just play it, but at the same time you've got to spend the time to get the physical copy.
But then also to crap on modern day version of physical copy, which is just you input the disc in, then the disc has to download the rest of the game. That phases me still. Like, I think I'd rather just download it off the online store.
Oh, that like if you like,
because now
like even take with PlayStation, when you put a disc in, it installs a part of the game.
Yeah, it's still got to download another 50 gigs worth of games. So it's like, well, what's the point?
Well, that's technology as well, is that it has to download a portion of that game onto the system so that it can read off both your hard drive and the disc.
Yeah, but it's still connected. Like in most cases, this is still connecting to the internet, and it's still doing it that way. I don't know, just defeats the purpose of having to do the disc thing.
Yeah,
especially with today's
standards. That's why, like I said before at the beginning of this podcast, I feel like that at least video game media is going to follow movies and TV shows and music, is because, you know, it's just going to be easier to do it all digitally. Yeah. And like I said, people always prefer convenience over cost. Yeah. Especially if it's just something as small as $1, $2, $5 or something like that. Yeah. You know? It's just the internet that has to catch up, and so we can start streaming games. Exactly. We just have to wait for the means of the connectivity to actually catch up, basically. And as that happens, you're going to get anti-piracy software get a little bit more intrusive, but at the same time, we're not going to notice it all that much if internet speeds are already at a high or anything like that. And we might not even have to worry about anti-piracy, because people will prefer to do that, go down those certain avenues. Yeah. And even in some cases, like if you go with a nuanced argument of it, people have proven that piracy actually builds sales of a video game. That people will often pirate the game, try it out, and if they like it, we'll go and buy the game.
Okay.
And so it's been
Not like that
proven-
with movies. And
not unfortunately, not really.
No.
But yeah, it's an interesting future that we're looking forward to when it comes to video games.
Yeah.
And the way that technology is going about. I might even one day have my mobile phone with me, and someone's like, "Oh, are you able to just wait like half an hour? We've got to do this a bit." Don't worry about it. Pull out of my backpack a PlayStation 4 controller, set my iPhone up, and I'm streaming PlayStation on my phone.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the future we're looking forward to.
World we live in. Crazy times.
Exactly.
What's next week? Flying cars?
Oh, actually,
With the
I
way
haven't picked
technology's...
next week's topic.
No, I meant with the way technology's working.
Oh, technology. I thought you were talking about the podcast.
Oh, we're doing
Because
a podcast.
it looks like the podcast is coming to an end.
I didn't know we were doing a podcast.
We were doing a podcast.
What?
That entire time we were on a podcast.
What? This is just our living room.
Look down, look back up. You're now on a horse.
And there's diamonds. Yeah.
Well, thank you again, ladies and gentlemen, for checking out Media and Demand. If you'd like to also see us on the Kate Smell Service podcast, we stream live here on Twitch 7 p.m. Fridays. That's Australian Eastern Standard Time. We also pop both of these podcasts on the same podcast group under Apple or any of your other podcast services, except for Spotify. Unfortunately, we do not have that sort of money. But if you would like to support us and like to get us that sort of money, go to patreon.com/KatesMailService. Chuck us a few bucks on Patreon. If you want to join us on the Scramble Pixels network, just remember scramble.pixels.com/join the network. We're more than happy to bring on anyone for any other times during the week. If you've got an idea for a podcast or even just a regular stream, even video games or anything like that, hop on board, check it out. Ethan,
Yes.
thanks for joining me once again on another episode.
Thank you for having me. And thank you for not finding another guest.
And it's the first streamed episode as well. Thank you very much for joining us, all the Twitch viewers. Sorry we haven't been reading the chat. We've been busy chatting ourselves. So we're looking at in the future trying to maybe keep it on the stream, but we just wanted to test it out for this episode. So give us some feedback. If you liked it, awesome. If you don't like it, that's good too. So
Anyway,
jolly good show.
thanks for watching.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Until next time.